Hey, I'm Becky Montoya-Wright, and I was planning to do this parenting class tomorrow from the school, but we haven't had anyone showing up to the free parenting classes. So I've just been doing them on the Facebook Live and getting some viewers and participation that way. And tomorrow I have a very busy day at school. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one from home this evening. We are on our 7th parenting class, and we're gonna talk about encouraging the family dynamic of honesty with our children. I'm going to share a couple of resources, a couple of tips on how you might start that conversation, and it should be a pretty quick little message that I'm sharing today. So the books that we've really been using for the basis of these classes have been The Whole Brain Child, and this one, I flipped the screen so you guys can totally see. That says The Whole Brain Child. This book is by Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. Can't speak highly enough about this book, and it does have a companion workbook that goes with it as well. Fabulous resources for parenting. It's geared more towards the younger parent or the parent of younger children, but everything in it can be applied to teenagers, which is the population that I work with. And then Frances E. Jensen's book with Amy Ellis Nutt, and this one is called The Teenage Brain. This will be a game changer in helping you understand what's going on in the noggin. No judgment, no shame, but there's a lot of things that aren't connected in the teenage brain, and it really does help us understand their impulsivity, why they're hunting for reward without considering risk. It's really a helpful book as well. So these have been kind of setting the foundation for the classes that we've been doing. There is another program that I've just been introduced to called Uplift, and it is a subscription online. If you search for it, it's called just one word, Uplift, and it's a parenting program with really great resources, messages, lessons as well. And that one's new to me, but I've been exploring it and really enjoying the resources there. So when we talk about creating a family dynamic of honesty, it is one of those things that really starts with what we're modeling. There is a lot of research to support that we can teach honesty and require honesty and hold our children accountable when they're not honest. But if we ourselves are not demonstrating and modeling honesty in the way that we conduct ourselves, it has very little sticking power. And so first and foremost, if we want honesty to be something that's important to our children, then it's important that it's something we model. And the way we might consider that could be in all aspects of our lives. And I know this can be touchy to different people, but are we following the laws? Are we being honest in our work? Are we putting in a full day's work for a full day's pay? Are we being honest if there's a discrepancy in the amount of money we get back at the grocery store? All of those types of things start to establish, they might seem small and insignificant, but they're going to develop that pattern of honesty in what we're modeling. When our children are with us during the day and then they hear us talk about our day, maybe to our spouse or to someone else, and we leave significant things out or we represent the situation different than it really occurred, then they're learning much more than any lesson we could ever tell them on honesty. That lesson's going to stick the most. So a conversation you might have with your children, you could lead in with a question like this: when is it easy to be honest? When is it difficult to be honest? And just kind of start that conversation there and see if they even have thoughts on that. One of the best places to have these conversations, we've talked about this in previous classes, is in the car. Young people feel very unthreatened when they're having side-by-side conversations. We like to have the eye contact, and that can be great. Sometimes that's a great fit for young people, but often they're more comfortable when we don't have that eye contact, the facials. Even if we're trying hard to be a non-judgmental listener, our face gives us away. And so sometimes that side-by-side is going to be a more ideal space for that conversation. There is an interesting article, and they cite an article that states that lied to children are more likely to cheat and lie. And this is an article by India Kedera. And in this research, it talks about how 5, 6, and 7-year-olds who have been lied to were both more likely to cheat and then more likely to lie about having cheated than their counterparts. So when young people are lied to, they're going to be much more likely to lie and cheat as well. The actions of what parents suggest that they do not believe that the lies they tell to their children. So parents believe that the lies they tell their own children aren't going to impact their child's honesty, but all of the research supports that that is different. So very important to keep in mind that the example we set is going to be critical. Something that's interesting to me when I consider the research of these 2 books that are founding to our parenting class, we know that the teenage brain in particular is full of dopamine surges, lots of dopamine being dumped into the teenage brain as a reinforcer. And so if a teenager is being reinforced with that dopamine, that feel-good chemical, when they're telling lies, when they're getting away with things, when they're being dishonest, then that is going to actually start creating a pattern, a learned habit of lying. When a young person receives dopamine for the feel-goods of telling the truth, then the same is going to be the case. They're going to be reinforced for truth speaking. They're going to be reinforced with that dopamine to learn that behavior. And so as parents, a lot of that is in how we respond to our young people when they come to us with the truth to speak. If they believe that we are going to handle them lying to us better than the truth, then they're going to be very tempted to lie to us because they want those feel-good feelings. They don't want to have that terrible response. And this isn't to say we don't give consequences or that there aren't going to be expectations that we can hold, but it is just really important to keep in mind that if a young person, say they come to us and want to share something honest with us about using drugs or alcohol or participating in risky behaviors of some sort, if our reaction to them is so strong and so negative that we just really slam the door to further having those communications. If we remember to connect, then redirect, we have that as a whole class. So if they come to us with something to speak honestly about, and instead of being really reactive, we engage the right and the left hemisphere, the top of the brain, and the center and lower parts of the brain, we get our full brain participating in our parenting processes, and we strive to have that connection emotionally with the young person before we redirect. We're going to see that establish the pattern of encouraging that dopamine release in the child so that they can start to have this reinforcement for being honest. And anytime they're reinforced for being honest, super win. I had a story for myself that I'll share with students or with my own kids from when I was little, and I was really little. I know that I was not 8 years old, and just times were different apparently because I had permission to walk from my home to a little convenience store on occasion. And I was doing that one time with my friend, and we bought some things, but then my friend was at the soda machine and she was telling the clerk that the soda didn't come out, that she'd put her money in and that the soda hadn't come out. And so the clerk used the keys, opened the machine, and gave her the soda, and we went on our way. Well, when we got outside of the gas station, she told me that she had lied to the clerk. She hadn't put money in the machine. She had just said she did, and that's how she got a free soda. And my feeling at that time, I didn't feel happy that she got a soda. I felt like we were going to jail. I thought we had really committed a major crime. I had been drinking the soda with her, walking back to our houses. And so one of the things that sat funny with me was what to do with this guilt, this shame. And I didn't really know what to do. Like I said, I was probably only 7. but I did get the coins, and it was just coins back then to buy a soda. And the next time I was able to go on a walk to that convenience store, I went into the store, but I waited because I was scared. I didn't want to say what had happened, so I waited until the clerk was busy, and then I just put the coins on the counter and then left. But I was glad that I knew then I didn't want to become okay with, I'm glad now that I didn't start the habit of becoming okay with something like that. And that, for the most part, I'm like everybody else. I have my things. I'm sure there's inconsistencies in my behavior. But for the most part, I feel like I'm wired fairly honestly. And I do like to conduct myself in that manner. And hopefully my kids have seen that, and that's meaningful to them in whatever way that might shape them positively. So it's good to be able to share a story with our kids about a time maybe either where we were honest or maybe a time where we weren't, and how that worked out for us. Maybe we didn't even get caught, and maybe it just became a feeling or started a pattern of behaviors that became more destructive for us. So it doesn't have to be a story that ends exactly how you might think it should in the moment, but maybe one that built your character or really challenged your character in a way that you were impacted, that could positively help them as they consider honesty in their life. Another great question we can ask or share is how it has felt when we have told a lie. And that's something that'd be interesting to have a conversation with little children all the way up to young adults about that. I have in my notes, we can practice being truth speakers, or we can practice and perfect deception. The teen brain isn't as developed in accessing the risks as it is in rewards. So our brain, the teenage brain, is constantly hunting for rewards, but it's not dialed in so much on assessing the risks. So that hunt for the dopamine is going to reinforce the feel-goods and help those feel-goods become those learned behaviors. So if lying creates those feel-goods, then that's the behavior that's going to be reinforced. If truth speaking creates the feel-goods, then that is going to be more likely to be reinforced. When our children are willing to tell us the truth or tell us the challenge they're experiencing, even if they've broken a rule, it's important for us to consider what we're going to be helping reinforce in our response to what they bring to us. How we respond to them is really setting the stage to what they're going to be willing to bring to us in the future. So then sharing some of the things that we have had happen. Maybe you've had an incident where you were given too much change at the store. You could ask your kids, what if you were given too much change at the store? What would you do? A lot of young people don't even know what that is because they pay, with their cards or their Apple devices. But you could just talk to them. What if you found out you had been credited more than you should have? What would you do? Maybe you could give them the scenario of friends that are sharing answers for an assignment, and that it's an assignment that the teacher has made clear the students aren't supposed to be sharing answers. They're supposed to work alone. And how easy or how hard would it be for you as a young person to not share your answers or accept the answers that are being shared? So that would be another good one to maybe use as a scenario. Ultimately, we don't have control over if our kids get these things figured out. We have the opportunity to really work on ourselves, to implement the right and left brain thinking, the top-down brain thinking, to really incorporate the most comprehensive approach to our interactions with our children, but also to the way we're conducting ourselves in our personal lives. So if we can consider the example we're setting and create an inviting atmosphere for genuine honesty to be received safely with compassion, then we're going to really be promoting that family dynamic of honesty that we hope for. And we may see tremendous results with our young people that we have influence over being more honest with us. And maybe we just start to see a change in ourselves and hold ourselves more accountable and recognize the growth that we're having. But it's a win when we can help young people to find that honest part of themselves, and when we can demonstrate that through our example as well. So again, this was the 7th parenting class. We're talking about honesty, and this program is being made possible with the Nexus Coalition in partnership with them, and through the grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield called Not All Wounds Are Visible. Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.